Welcome to episode 58 of Canes Local. This week we'll hit on the Canes 7-game win streak, new guy production, and a special sit down with the coaching staff for the junior Canes as they head to nationals. 3 stars and much more coming up next. So let's dive into the Canes rolling and here rolling. It starts with the 7-game win streak started with a turd, quite honestly, against Boston. But man, I tell you what, they've been rolling here lately
It
in
started
all
before
ends,
Boston.
all ends of the ice.
The first game was against Calgary of the 7-game win streak. It was a 2-1 win over Calgary. Hold on, I'm pulling up the full win streak here. But yeah, no, one thing I want to make so just because that what you were kind of bringing up is right around the trade deadline. Um, Carolina is one of 3 teams to remain undefeated after the trade deadline. Can you guys name me the other 2 teams that are still undefeated?
No, I have no idea.
Capitals.
Nope.
Rangers?
Nope.
I hate to say Dallas, but
Nope.
Dallas.
No, they lost the other night.
Mm-hmm. The Miko
Yeah.
experience is going well there. They're 2-2 right now through there. 500 hockey. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, I don't know,
Ottawa?
Kyle.
Ottawa is one of the 2.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right, actually, now
Ottawa
that you
is
say
the
that.
only other team on a 5 or more game winning streak. They're on a 7-game winning streak themselves. And then the other team is LA. So 2 teams that didn't really make a lot of moves, or 2 other teams that didn't make a ton of moves during the trade deadline. They added I know you look at Ottawa, they went out and added Nick Cousins for Josh Norris, which maybe kind of a 1-for-1 swap sort of deal. Maybe
Mhm.
they both needed a new change of scenery. I don't know what Ottawa was thinking there. We'll get to that later, but we'll move on. But yeah, it just kind of goes to show that just because you add a bunch at the deadline doesn't mean you're going to be a great hockey team. Now, granted, Colorado only lost one, and it was in a shootout. So they're 3-0-1 through that time as well too. So Colorado's the one team that did add a lot of pieces, but I feel like every one of the pieces they added was like more of a depth piece than anything else, where other teams went out and added big pieces, and it hasn't worked out so far. But speaking of working out, I'm just gonna read a list really quick of all the points guys for since the trade deadline, and then we can kind of digress. I just want to get the stats out there. So Mark Jankowski, I'm gonna little sidebar here. So he's got 4 goals so far since the trade deadline. He is the first player in NHL history since stats started being recorded back in 95, 96 to score on his first 4 shots with a team. He has 4 shots with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he has 4 goals right now. He's got a 100% shooting record with the Carolina Hurricanes. Other notable guys: Seth Jarvis with 4 points, Aho with 4 points, Roslovic with 4 points, Stankovic 2 points, KK 2 points, Blake 2 points. And then the big thing, and this is kind of, I wanted to pose this question. Is this the most important thing to the Canes hockey right now? The back end has even getting production. Ghost 3 points in the last 4 games. Morrow 3 points in the last 4 games. Walker 2 points. Chatfield 2 points in the last 4 games. That has been, I feel like, the biggest difference is all of a sudden we're starting to get a massive load of production out of our back end, led by 2 guys that hadn't played together all season. And now all of a sudden they're playing together. I mean, both Ghost and Morrow have 6 points combined on that partnership. I kind of want to bring it up to you guys. Like, what's changed on the decor other than bringing in Scott Morrow?
I would say I'll dive real quick, Kim.
Yeah.
I think it's just our overall defensive play has allowed them to be that way. I think our forwards, the back pressure, the way they're playing in all ends of the ice, that in my mind is the biggest contributor because the defense can now more activate because they have the confidence that the forwards are going to be there to cover if they jump into the play, and I think that's the biggest thing. And the other thing too, and I'll table this one for my comments, but is goaltending. I think we've gotten really good goaltending, so our D has really been able to activate just because they feel like they can activate. And so I just think that's for me, the defensive play all over the ice has allowed the D to be that much more active.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think all the D have played really well. I think Burns has had a good stretch. I think we've seen that he's actually been playing pretty decent, which is good. That's what they need. If they're gonna utilize him on that top line, he needed to play better, and he's been playing better. Like I said, I think they played well. Like you said, the back pressure from the forwards helps a lot. Like if you have forwards helping out in the D zone, I mean, not yet. It makes your job a whole lot easier for sure. And I also think we have more mobility with the pairings. I think Chatfield and Walker have been a really good pairing, even though they're two righties that are playing together. I still think they're playing really well together.
Hmm.
And I mean, look, I don't want to. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but we know what's going to happen at some point. We know they're going to scratch Morrow, and he's going to either go back to the A or he's just going to be the seventh guy rotation, which I think is a crime. I don't think he should be. I think he should be, if you're going to sit anybody, Orlov can stay sat down. That's fine. But again, they're not going to do that. We all know they're not going to do that. So with Orlov coming back in, the line combinations are going to go back to pretty much the same as they were, and we just hope that the forwards continue that back pressure because they need it. The decor needs the help for sure. So
Yeah. The one thing I've noticed with Morrow's game not surprised me, but it's given me a lot more hope than like even what we got out of Orlov is he's such a good skater. I don't know
Mhm.
what's going on with Orlov. Maybe it's a lower body injury that he's just kind of had nagging on for months on end or something along those lines, but he has not skated the same. He's not been the same player since last year. And you add the young legs and Scott Morrow, and all of a sudden he's flying up and down the ice. He's yes, making some mistakes, but when we look at it and we're really looking at like Rod's comments where he's like he's got to settle his game down, he's doing too much certain times. I agree, but so was Dmitry Orlov. And the
Yeah.
only difference was Dmitry Orlov couldn't get back. Morrow gets back. So it's like,
Mhm.
hey, we're getting an upgrade in the one department of he's a better defender in my opinion. He's a lot more the better ability to skate. I think Morrow's been
Yep.
a better defender since Orlov, or better defensively, better than Orlov has been defensively in the D zone, and I think he's added more of an offensive punch.
Yep.
I genuinely think that he's been the biggest change. And we look at pre-deadline, post-deadline. Pre-deadline, Morrow wasn't playing. Post-deadline, Morrow is playing. All of a sudden, the defensive crew's got a ton of points. Canes are scoring at a rapid clip. I think a lot of it comes down to the offense, but having the injection of somebody that thinks the game like he does, look at that goal on the Jankowski, the lead pass up to him. He literally does a 360, kind of turns up ice. The first thing he does is instantly pass the puck because he sees the open guy. Where other defensemen like Orlov would turn up ice, see the guy, wait a second, then pass the puck where the guy's covered offsides or it goes down for an icing. He just injects a different level of offensive capability to this team, and I want to see more on the top power play. I think Ghost has been doing really good, and maybe start him on the second unit, but he needs to be a power play guy.
Mhm.
He creates too much offensive game to
Yeah.
not be out there a man up,
mhm.
especially when the power play's not clipping at the way it should be going. Dad, also an excellent point on the goaltending. This is over the full 7 game win streak. I did that because the pre-points for the players really we were like it was like we were winning every game 2-1 to start this win streak. But Freddie Anderson over the I think he played 4 or 3 games out of this 7 game win streak. He has a 9.32 save percentage. And then the man of the hour, Pyotr Kochetkov, in the 4 games since this win streak started, has a 9.60, including a shutout as well too, save percentage. Talk about goaltending. They have
Yeah.
been lights out. And that was a
Mhm.
lot of teams or a lot of, I guess, pundits' big question mark about this team was do they have enough offense? Well, we're scoring 4 goals a game right now. And can they get sustainable goaltending? We got the best goaltending combo in the NHL right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other thing too to jump onto that one is you talk about the forwards and the goal production is I think that's been the biggest thing. You're starting to see players, um, like and I'll use this guy as an example, Jack Roslovic. Early the season wasn't a tremendous defensive player, but man, with the line injection that he's playing or the line he's playing on right now, he's playing defensively responsible. and it's creating opportunity, and he's playing with pace, and he's playing with grit, and he really it's almost like he's changed the way he's played the game a little bit. And I tell you, the line combinations that Rod, Cameron and I were both a little nervous, and maybe Kyle, you too, on Jarvis, Blake, and Aho. But I tell you what, top to bottom, those line combinations, that fourth line is absolutely dynamic. I love Eric Robinson alongside Jankowski. I like that whole combination. Even Stankoven on that third line, wasn't quite sure that we were totally utilizing him, but he could inject on the top line if he needed to. He's man, I tell you, all four lines, and Kyle, you said it in the text. KK is becoming our second line center, and he's really producing, and his production is crazy.
Yep.
So I think Roddy's finally found his balance, and hopefully, this right hand, left hand shit on defense, it goes away with the way we're lining these guys up right now, because it works, and you can see that it
Yeah.
works.
It
So,
only works with
so I
specific players, though. That's the problem, is that not everybody can play their offhand in the
yeah,
NHL.
but we have those
I
guys.
get that.
So
I'm not saying we
he
don't.
sees that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Walker's
yeah.
I'm not saying we don't.
yeah,
I'm just saying that
Walker's so good.
he
he's so
is.
good, man.
Walker, in my opinion, is the second best defenseman on this team.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I'd agree.
I couldn't argue with you.
I
I can't.
like outside of Jacob Slavin, he's the best defenseman that we have
Mm.
in the Carolina Hurricane. Well, maybe not organization because Mr. Nikishin's coming over, and might I add, he's led yet another year of defenseman in KHL scoring with a 20-goal season for a defenseman in KHL. He has the most goals, I think, in SCA history, and he's only played 6 years there for a defenseman. So
Yeah.
that just goes to tell you what kind of player we're getting in that, and he's supposed to be over by the end of the year. But yeah, I'm stoked about that portion of it. Now, Dad, we were on Xbox chatting a little bit last night, and Brett posed an interesting question. For those of you that don't know, Brett was on one of our early episodes, so go check that one out. But what do the lines look like when Andrei Svechnikov draws back in, or when William Carrier draws back in? Because he's supposed to be ready to go here before the end of the season. Granted, still hasn't been on the ice yet, but I think once he's on the ice, it's going to be a kind of a quick turnaround to be onto the
Mhm.
into the lineup. But how do the lines look, or who do you draw out, or who draws in? Like, with the team rolling the way it is now. Granted, by the time they're back, we could be on a 3-game losing streak. I hope to God not.
Mhm.
The way the team's going, it doesn't look that way. But what is your thoughts on it, Dad? Because I just kind of want to get your idea on who would take a seat.
Wow, man, that's a great question, actually. Hadn't really thought about it, especially the Carrier factor. I mean, I could see easily, Svetch coming back in, and, Tyson Yost obviously is going to take a seat.
That was the
Um,
one where we were like, while we don't think
that's an easy one.
it's not easy because Tyson Yost has, I think,
Yeah.
earned a spot in the
Yeah.
lineup. I think on any other team, he's probably in a top four line situation for an NHL roster spot. But
Mhm.
he's kind of the bubble guy here, so it's like not that not that it's easy, but it's an easier pick than the second
Yeah.
one where it's
Yeah.
William Carrier coming into the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think at that point, you gotta take a look at Roslovic, and where does he do you bump him and down, and, for Svetch, and then Carrier, quite honestly, I think, you know, you bump Stankoven, and put him back with the line that he's got, even though they've been well, you can
No,
make that comment about
one
anybody,
one
Kyle.
guy's coming out of
Any line.
another.
No, who comes
Two
out of the
guys are
lineup?
coming out of the
Two
lineup.
guys have
They're
to come
sitting.
out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So who's your second
another guy
guy
has to
coming
be
out of the
healthy. So who's
lineup
the
to
healthy?
put Carrier in?
Yeah,
I'm not sitting
Yeah.
Stankoven. I'm not sitting Roslovic. Robinson's made a great shout not to go out.
it's probably Robinson.
It's
I
got
mean,
to
I
be
would say
either,
that's
but in a
it's got
I
to
would
be
playoff,
say, yeah.
Robinson.
yeah, in a playoff series, like and Brett made a great point. Depending on who we're playing, if we're playing Florida, I think Roslovic's probably the guy coming out. We're having Robinson
Mhm.
in, we're having Carrier in, we're having
Yeah,
having as
you have
much
all the
size as we
having
can
a
in.
much.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
a lot of it depends on the series that we're in, because another thing Jack Roslovic brings to the team that we struggle with in other departments is goal scoring. He's got 20 plus goals this year. Like, we need that going into playoffs. So it's such a struggle question of who
Well,
draws in and
the
who
thing
takes
is, though,
out.
it's a great problem to
It
have, though. I
is.
mean, quite
Yeah,
honestly, I mean, so, and then I think if you're a team guy, this is the assumption that everybody stays healthy, knock on wood.
Again,
We don't want
yes.
anybody to get hurt, but to have that kind of depth heading into a playoff run, knowing you have those options to balance your team to match up better against one team versus another, I think it's absolutely critical to have it at this point in the season.
Mhm.
So to have a guy like Morrow, if he's not in the lineup in the wings, or if Nikishin comes in and then you got a guy like Chatfield sitting in the wings potentially, it's just there's so much depth there that and those guys are gonna be team guys. Quite honestly, I think they're gonna know what the goal is, and they're gonna make that call, and they're gonna be okay with it. They're just gonna suck. They're gonna want to play. Don't get me wrong, but they're gonna make that call and say, "Yeah, I agree. I need to sit this one because I don't match up as well against this team as this guy does." And when you get guys buying in like that, and you see total buy-in right now from everybody,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that's the key, especially March 16th, when you get total buy-in. Now, if you get it in November, then all of a sudden they go on a skid here in March, then we're having a whole different
You
conversation.
mean Kane's every other year previous this one, where we
Pretty
would be
Yeah,
much. Yeah.
unbelievably good through November and December and then
yeah,
absolutely tank at the end of the season? No, not this
yeah.
team.
Yeah,
No,
that's right.
but that's great, a great problem to have. I agree. We have so much depth. Um, to me, it's Carrier's got to play. And
Mhm.
as much as I've loved Jack Roslovic's game, Svech is going to pop back into that top six role, like top six players.
He
Has he
has to.
has he deserved it? No. You really want to ask my honest opinion? Has he deserved playing in a top six role this year? No, he has not. His production's been down. I don't think he's been dominating games the way he knows he can. I don't know what kind of the problem has been, but he's not doing what we saw in that Rangers series last year. Because if he was doing what we saw in that Rangers series last year, he'd be a point a game player, if not better. Because that's what he was that dominant in that Rangers series. But we just haven't seen that same player. So it's like I don't want to. Is Do we bring Svech back into the lineup with the team rolling the way it's rolling right? If Svech is
Yeah, we
healthy
do.
next game, is he in the lineup for you?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think he is. I think he is for Rod too. But we're at a point now where I think those guys, if they're hurt, if they're healthy, okay, get them back in the rotation, get them some feel for the puck before playoffs. But you know, you have the ability now to take your time with some of these guys too, and not rush them back into the lineup. And quite honestly, Orlov was on the trip to Philly, so he could have probably played. But he didn't, and Svech wasn't on the trip, so Svech may be a little bit more long term than Orlov
Yeah.
is. So I think keeping Orlov, and I agree with you, Cam. He's going to come back in the lineup, and it's going to suck
Sad.
because we're going to lose that. We're going to lose that influx of creativeness that Morrow brings. I will say that he still defensively still needs a lot of work there.
I don't think
But
a
he's
lot of
he's
work.
I he does there's some turnovers in the D zone that I was like, okay. I mean, but Orlov makes the same
Yeah.
turnovers.
No,
So,
I mean,
um,
it's yeah.
but it's not like he's terrible.
No. I
But I think
think
that
he's
part
good.
of his game is what he needs the most work on. I guess let me put it that. Let me rephrase it.
100% agree, but also in the same vein of breath, I love Shane Gossespierre, but he's also on a partnership with Shane Gossespierre where those mistakes tend to get amplified because they're both trying to jump in the rush every single time, both of them. Where you put him with a guy like even like a Sean Walker, I don't think you notice the Morrow mistakes as much because all of a sudden you have a pretty good defensive unit beside him to clean up a lot of those. You put him with a guy like Jacob Slavin, I think Morrow's got 7 points so far through his
I
tenure
think so too.
in this
Yeah.
little stretch as a Kane. I mean, that's just because then all of a sudden he can really not stress about making a mistake. Because that's the
Yeah.
last thing you want to do as a rookie is sit there constantly. Dad, I know you're reading the same book I am sit there and worry about your mistakes. So if you're worrying about the mistakes, you're not focused on the game, you're not living in the present. I don't really give it. Have mistakes. He's 22 years old. I mean, for
Yeah.
goodness sake, have those mistakes. But the reason why he's having, I think, so many mistakes is because, and this is another great point by Brett. We really need to get him back on the podcast, but I'm just stealing a couple of his points today. He has done everything he can to do in the AHL. He's not going to dominate the AHL any more than he is doing. All he's going to do is learn bad habits because now he realizes in the AHL, he
Hmm.
has a lot more time. He's got a lot more space. He's got a lot more ability to do a little toe drag in the neutral zone, and you're probably going to get around the guy because that guy's maybe not as skilled as. But now you're in the NHL. Now you have to learn how to rep in the NHL on a consistent basis. And I think yes, he's only 22 years old. He's going to be in the NHL next season, 100%. I get that.
You
But
hope
get
so.
him the reps now. We've kind of opened ourselves up to this is now we retooled. We started the year as a retool year. We moved into maybe we have a shot with getting Miko, and then we're kind of back into that retool year. In a retool year, we know Orlov's gone. We know I we don't know Burns is gone, but we hope Burns is gone. Maybe back on a cheaper contract than he is now, but with those guys leaving, let Morrow get those NHL reps the rest of the season. If playoffs rolls around and you don't have 100% trust in him, maybe do every other game you're playing between Orlov and Morrow, Orlov and Morrow, Orlov, whoever's up in the stands, something like that. If you don't have trust in him going into playoffs, sure, play Dmitry Orlov, play the guy with NHL experience. I get that portion of it. Playoffs is different. Right now, get him the NHL reps because all he's going to go do is go back to the AHL and go back to his not, I don't want to say bad habits, but things he can get away with in the AHL that he's never going to get away with in the NHL because he's never going to learn that he can't get away with it. He's just going to continue to do it in the A. Maybe he gets to the point where he can do it at such a level that he can do it in the NHL. But a lot of times that comes from getting reps in the
Yep.
NHL. Look at Cale Makar. His first half a season in the NHL, he was good. He was electric, but he had some flaws in his game. But what he did was he was able to go into the offseason knowing I just got 12 games under my belt and then an entire Stanley Cup final playoff run. And we ended up going in and winning the Stanley Cup finals. But he goes into the offseason going, I know that in college hockey, I could get away with doing that dipsy doodle. In the NHL, I can't do that dipsy doodle, but I can do this one. I can change my direction this way. Instead of trying to do a toe drag, all I have to do is shuffle my feet and cross the blue line, and I have open space over there. But you don't learn that by not playing. You don't learn that by playing in a different league. You learn that by playing consistent hockey and having a consistent shift. He's done everything he can in the AHL. I just don't want to see him go back. That's maybe just me, but I mean, he's lit it up.
Yeah.
I think he's got 40 something points in I think he was leading Chicago in points pretty much.
Yeah, especially as a defenseman. I mean, he was an AHL All-Star this year in his first year. I mean, it's you'd think, if the Canes give him the rest of the season, let's say they give him reps in the last 15 games that they got.
Yeah.
They give him those reps. I think come the beginning of playoffs, I mean, I already think obviously skating ability and offensive ability he's better than Orlov. I think the defensive ability, could use some tweaking just because of how you have to be so aware in the D zone.
Yeah.
That and again, but that comes from playing in the A when you have more time to be less aware.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Exactly.
So but that will come for sure. What I think is going to happen, and I hope this kind of happens, but I think Orlov will, obviously, we all know that Orlov's going to come back in. I think he's on a very tight leash. Very. If he has a bad game, they're putting Morrow in instead of him. I fully believe that now. Rod's seen enough to where he's like, okay, this guy, if anybody's not playing well, and it may be anybody, everybody except Slavin, but it might be
everybody except Slavin.
Everybody except Slavin, and Burns, because I don't know why they I don't know. Anyway,
I think the other guy is Chatfield, actually.
The Chatfield, they've shown before they're more than welcome to sit him down, which is sad. I hate that because I think he's a great player.
I'm not saying he deserves it. I'm just saying he's probably the guy.
He's the Kokaniemi of the defensive core. He always seems to draw the short end of the stick no matter what. So, you hope that Morrow gets more reps. He's definitely going to be the seventh defenseman, like the 6-7. I don't think they send him back down to the AHL. I don't. I think he stays up the rest of the year. I think everybody's on a tight leash. I really, really, really think that Orlov is on a super short leash at this point. If he has a bad game, he strung together those really bad games at the beginning of this year, in January, I think. He was awful. and Rod sat him basically one half of one game and then the third period of another. He does that
Mhm.
again, Morrow's in the lineup until Rod says so. Rod says otherwise. So
Yeah, could you think he's gotta be sort of healthy enough to go on the road trip.
he is. I mean, he's
So
healthy enough to play. It's just Rod was like, well,
so
we'll give him a, we might as
yeah.
well. Like he's like, basically he's not pressured to put him back in.
Mhm.
No, and with the
Yeah.
So
offensive production we'll be getting out of Morrow, I think it takes even less pressure off of him to put him back in.
Well, I mean, and then you have, the other thing too is when you have the commentators, when you have Trip Tracy saying he's making Rod's job really hard right now. When you have Trip Tracy saying that, like, and we all know that obviously Trip is biased to the organization and everything for sure, but again, when you have just like those kind of voices that watch every single game, they've seen every game for the last 20 years basically, and he's saying that.
And they know the coach with depth. Like, they know
And they
what the
know
coach is
Rod.
looking for. They know what
Yeah, they
Rod's
know what
looking
they're
for.
looking for. They know what the Canes need. They know what they're like. I honestly, I'm before this whole thing started when Orlov got injured and Morrow drew in. I thought there was probably like a 90% chance once Orlov was healthy again, Morrow would draw back out. I think it's probably a 60-40 now. Honestly,
Yep.
I could see them keeping Orlov on the sideline
Yep.
while Morrow stays into play. But I still don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, we all know that once Nikishin gets here too, then obviously somebody else is drawn out.
So
Yeah.
that's the other thing too, is once Nikishin is here, he's and yes, haven't seen him play in the NHL yet,
Mhm.
but based off of every possible thing he could do in the second best league in the world, he has done and he has excelled exponentially at. His defensive game is one of the best I've seen out of a defenseman. He is physical as can be. He's got a cannon on him. He's got great vision. He can skate unbelievably well. We are looking at our own version of a Victor Hedman-esque player. That's what we're looking at. Not as tall, but can do every little thing
That's pretty big.
correct.
Yeah,
Just can do every little thing correct. But
in the KHL.
yes, agreed. But again, we look at Morrow and the jump that he's made from the AHL, a lesser league than the KHL. It's looked not seamless, but we look at the production he's putting up and then put that same production on a KHL defenseman. I'm taking the production off that KHL defenseman any day of the week because, again, better league. And they are tied for points. Yes, Nikishin's a couple years older, but he's been doing this for the past 4 years. He's been leading NHL or KHL defensemen for the past 4 years in points. It's not like it's been a
Yeah.
one-off, one swing where he had a really good season. He was on some really good lines. His team is terrible right now. Yes, they made playoffs, but they're the second to last team to make playoffs. And he was still leading the team in points. And he was also like, he's just, I don't see a world where he comes in and he is terrible, like can't play hockey type of
Oh
bad.
yeah. No, I
I
mean
think he's going to be more serviceable than Orlov is. Just immediately going to be more serviceable than Orlov is. I
Yeah.
think he's already going to be more serviceable than Morrow is currently. Because, like you said, Dad, I don't disagree. I think Morrow's got some defensive lapses in his game. Do I think they're worse than what we're getting out of Orlov? No. Because, again,
not.
he has the skating ability to get back into the play and correct his mistakes. Orlov just doesn't have that or doesn't want to do that because half the time he's on the back check. He's just stick right on his hips, gliding back because he doesn't give a shit. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't care. He doesn't seem
Yeah.
to.
Here's another thing too, and I didn't really realize it until just now, and I looked it up, is that, we talk about Morrow and the gap, sort of the defensive gaps, but look at the 3 teams he came into to start against. He came in against Winnipeg, number 1 in the NHL,
Yes.
and, Tampa Bay, they're 3rd in the Atlantic, and then the Red Wings are fighting for a playoff spot, and they're not a bad
Mm,
team.
mm-mm.
No.
So, I mean, he didn't come in against the lower half of the league. I mean, he came in against top tier teams. So you kind of lose sight of that. So I may be retracting my defensive challenges with him, but he performed extremely well against top elite teams in the NHL. So we can't lose sight of that either.
Yeah, and I would what I did last night because I was really just kind of focused on seeing, is he like real deal type of ordeal, or is he just kind of, is he going to be a good defenseman or a great defenseman? I solo watched him last night, where anytime he was on the ice, that was the only guy I was really focused on. As much as he was in the screen, I was only watching him. Man, yes, couple plays that are so this is the thing, I don't even think he's making mistakes, I just think he's being a little too soft on plays.
I was gonna
Mhm.
say the
He
exact
I
same
don't think
thing.
it's mistakes because there's a couple times where he
Mhm.
made the right play, it was just a little soft for
It was
the
soft.
NHL, and
Yeah.
it got turned over.
Mhm.
That's the only difference right now is he's just a little soft for the NHL, but that comes from getting NHL reps. If you actually watch
Mhm.
his defensive play down low, he's got an unbelievably good stick. Unbelievably
Yeah.
good. It's like
It is
not
very good.
it's not Jacob Slavin level, but it's up there as one of the better ones. He's not overly physical, which I think will come with time, like kind of like i.e. Jacob Slavin or Brett Pesci. Both those guys weren't overly physical when they first started, but they learned that through progression and through playing on how you have to play in the NHL. I you really go back and watch him last night against Philly. I don't think there were many flaws to his defensive game. I mean, there was one play, Konechny got a pass backdoor. I I I thought he was out of the play entirely. He just sticks his stick in. It doesn't interrupt the entire shot, but it puts the shot wide because it just flips the toe to go in the other way, and the shot goes 3
Mhm.
feet wide, and it's like, that's a great defensive play that goes unnoticed a lot of the time because
Yeah.
it's so just minute, but that's the same thing we kinda get at out of Slavin now where it's like, it's such a minute stick detail, but it's so unbelievably good that it goes unnoticed, and that's why a lot of
Mhm.
pundits don't give Jacob Slavin the credit he deserves until they were watching him on the national stage in front of everybody in Team USA.
Yeah.
Because then it was so obvious because it's against the top players in the world. Where when it's against, Joel Farabee on the fourth line, it's great, but it doesn't bring the same attention as when he's stuffing Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby backdoor. But
Yeah.
Y
I see a lot of those similarities out of Morrow. Do I ever think he's going to get to where Jacob Slavin is with a stick? No,
I hope so.
I really do.
Yeah,
I
I hope so
really hope
too.
so. But
Yeah.
I think Jacob Slavin's an anomaly as far as that's concerned because there's very few players that can do what he does. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
think of one or two other. I can think of one or two other guys that I would put on par maybe with Jacob
That are
Slavin.
retired.
I don't even think they're retired. I think two guys in the NHL currently I would put on probably the same defensive capability, not maybe the same, but very close. And that is Jonas Brodin out of Minnesota, because he's very good. If you watch him play,
He's good.
you got to go watch him play, Dad. He is unbelievably good. Jonas Brodin out of Minnesota, and then uh, Devon Taves out of Colorado. I think those are the only two guys that really come close to how good defensively Jacob Slavin is. Because Devon Taves is
Yeah.
unbelievably good too. And I think that's half the reason why Cale Makar has having
Yeah.
career years and points is because he's think if Cale Makar was playing with Slavin. We'd
Yeah.
have four forwards on the ice. And just
I
go
know.
go
Be
up,
crazy.
Makar, just go play
Yeah.
forward. It doesn't matter. He'd have 170
Yeah.
points.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, the other thing too, and we'll jump off the D, but I thought I watched the play last night and actually, your mom saw it as well. And when somebody that's not a hockey person can see a play and understand it and say, "Wow, that's a pretty good play," that's impressive. Because Taylor Hall, let's talk Taylor Hall defensively. He is probably, I think we had really great pickups in Stankov and Jankowski, but man, I said Taylor Hall is so defensively gifted when it comes to making smart plays. And the thing with him is he's so poised with the puck. He doesn't give it away. He doesn't just chuck it up the wall. He doesn't just try to, like, there was a play that he had the opportunity to chip it off the wall, get it
Mhm.
out of the zone, but he protected it. He held it. He circled back in his zone, don't
Yep.
created a 2-on-1 the other way. And I'm like, that's the difference that we were missing when without a guy like Taylor Hall. And we're starting to get that out of more of the guys. So they're following and leading by example.
Mhm.
So I think that's going to be the most beneficial thing because, like I said, it created a scoring opportunity. I think Kokniemi and I don't remember who was on the other side, but maybe it was Roslovic,
Probably
off
Roslovic.
the other way,
Yeah.
off the other way, and it's just like, those are the little details of the game that when you look at it, you say, "Well, shit, what is he doing?" But he skated the puck almost back to the crease,
It
but he
was, yeah.
protected it the whole way. He
Mhm.
protected it, you could see it. And Jankowski's goal last night, he protected the puck. He just pulled out his leg and just protected off that, the double post goal. And it was so fun to watch that defensive side of the game, how they protect the puck. And I think that's gonna pay dividends having a guy like Taylor Hall. #1 draft pick, Hart Trophy winner in that locker room, showing these young guys because we have a really young team how to get it
Yep.
done and how to do it the right way.
And
So that that's exciting.
yes,
Mhm.
with all due respect, with like we have the leadership in there, but they're following, and I love this man to death, but they're following a Jordan Stahl right now, which again, he has had a really good career. He's not done what Taylor Hall's been able to do through his career. So you get it
Offensively.
offensively, yes, 100%. I agree with that. Yes, defensively, Jordan Stahl is probably better than Taylor Hall is,
And
but
championship Stall's won a cup.
yes,
So
that as well too. But again, you look at the team that Stahl won a cup with. Yeah,
just offensively,
yes,
yes, he's not on the level of Hall. Yeah.
but even just past the point of offensively, like what Hall does puck production wise, what Hall does poise wise, I don't. Jordan has a lot of poise to his game. Hall brings it to a different level with the level of poise, and I think
Mhm.
Carolina's been missing that a lot of that. And you even bring in, you know, Mikko Rantanen. He never really wanted to be here, so not really a great person to have, like, as your number 1 forward behind Aho or next
Mhm.
to Aho. I think Gensel
But
brought
he but
some of
he's
that.
but he said he gave it his best
No,
shot.
he never
He gave
did.
it.
No, he didn't.
Don't give me that crap. He never tried. He really didn't try, quite
No, he never
honestly.
Granted,
tried.
you would go back, you go and look at him in Dallas now, it still doesn't look like he's trying. That's just kind of how he plays, but
He plays slow.
he does. He plays a very slow game around fast. He needs fast players to play a slow
He
game
needs
around.
really fast players around
Yep.
him, yeah.
Yeah, and they said that last night. Tripp said that last night. He said that, that you hate to lose a guy like Lanton or Rantanen with his skill, but man, we injected speed into our lineup with Jankowski and Stankoven.
Yeah.
So we got faster
Yes,
for
and we
sure.
needed that because we were really slow. I don't know what
After
happened, but
losing Natchez, well,
yeah,
we
we
lost
s
Well, we're
Natchez.
losing
He was our
Natchez, yeah.
speed. He was
But
literally
Mhm.
the only speed that the Canes had, and you
yeah,
lose him, and it's tough to make that ground up. We still haven't made it up on the power play. Like, let's be
Mm-mm.
very clear. I think that I really think they need to utilize because they have when they're breaking into the zone, they're using Aho Jarvis right now. Use Blake. They
yes,
need to use Blake.
Blake and Jarvis, use
Blake
those 2 guys.
Blake reminds me of what a Patrick Kane would do. Just because they played Detroit the past twice in the past week, I think it
Yep.
was.
Mhm. Yep.
Basically, you watch how Patrick Kane breaks the puck into the zone. He's agile. He's moving. He's agile, but he knows when to pull up, and he's not just like going straight in a straight line. He's zigzagging. He's moving across all over. The same thing with Kucherov. Kucherov does the same thing when he's coming into the zone. He's moving side to side. He's moving east west, not north south. If you move north south, you're going to get killed because they're just going to converge on you and you don't have anywhere to go. But if you're moving east west, they have to overcommit. And if they overcommit, that means somebody else is wide open. So that's what they don't want to do. But I think too is a lot of teams are playing their penalty kill much more aggressive, knowing how bad the Canes power play is. So
Mhm.
that doesn't hurt. That doesn't help either. But I think having Blake breaking the puck into the zone would help a lot because he has some speed for sure. Roslovic's the same way. Use Roslovic. Roslovic has speed,
Yep.
and they tried that on the second line, which it works out sometimes. I don't mind the hard rim as long as you have guys going and go and get the puck.
I
That's it.
Yeah.
I
So
really like the set play that they've been running though, where it's off the far corner and you have the guy flying down the wing with speed.
yeah,
Hey, that's
they
but
did that with Fetch at the beginning of the year. Yeah,
yeah, we did it in the I forget what game it was
they scored off of it.
yeah,
Fetch
it
scored
was
off
just
of it.
but the way I look at it is if we're not being able to break the puck in cleanly and we're playing this well 5-on-5 like forecheck, dump the puck in and go
Just go
forecheck it.
forecheck. Yeah,
Just do the
just go
same.
Do
That's
forecheck.
do the
fine.
same thing.
Yeah, go do the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing. I really don't care.
Because you got an odd man
Yeah,
advantage, so why not?
Needs to
like
be a hard
Yeah.
for the power play. It needs so that is where it has to be a hard rim.
yeah,
It can't be a
100%.
soft dump into the corner.
No,
It has
Yep.
to be a hard rim because you have to make
you got to
sure
get it into a contested area.
you
You
have
can't
to get it in a
you
contested
can't put
area.
it
Because if
into
you
a
have if you have laying a flat puck in the corner and the D man's the first one
Yep.
back, he's just gonna slam it as
Yeah,
hard as he can off
100%.
the glass and out. So
Yep.
yeah, it has to be a hard rim.
It's got to be
But
in a
yeah, I mean,
contested
Yeah.
area.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it's I go back and, a non-hockey person looks at the game and said, "Your mom said the same thing, on the power play. Man, our power play looks terrible. We can't get the puck in the zone."
Well, to be fair, I mean, she watched how many hockey games between all
I
of
was
us?
gonna
She's
say,
probably a
look,
hockey
she
person at
knows
this
a lot
point.
more about hockey
She
than
knows
the
a lot
average
more than we
folk.
give her credit. So
Yeah.
No, I know that, but not to the technical side of the, a power play and how they set it up and how they orchestrate it. She goes, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
We're just moving the puck around. She goes, "Do we need to shoot?" Kind of it's like,
that's
as a
true.
kid, you always hear the parents say, "We need to shoot." Well, we do need to shoot, and I think that's the one thing that I like to see. We tend to look for that clear lane. Let's just create
Mhm.
some traffic. Let's create some junk in front of the net. Let's Taylor Hall taking a shot. He needs to shoot the puck more. We said that about Svetch early on. We said that about Turbo last year. Guys, just shoot the puck. Just that's the name of our game. And just we got guys that can get in front, that can muck it up now, and you put Blake and hell, put him in front of the net, and he'll hopefully squeak one in. He's so snake bit right now to get one in. It's just unbelievable. But he's creating opportunities for everybody
I mean, the
else.
Gaho goal last night was all him.
Yeah.
It was no doubt.
Literally all him.
Even the secondary play where he swept at the puck, and that's why Connecty didn't lose the puck. It was Blake created a turnover.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so
if you want to ask me, I think Blake is too good to put in front of the net. In the sense of he generates a lot of offense. Once his kind of his gasket breaks and he starts producing, we might have a 100-point guy sitting on our hand just by his level
I
of
know.
creativity. He's right there with some of the best that I've
Yeah.
seen as far as what we've had through the system in Carolina. The main thing I just want to see out of him is getting more points. But he needs to be the half wall guy on the right-hand side. He needs to be that one-time guy. If he could figure out maybe a one-timer, but he needs to
I don't
be
know.
that guy because so the reason I'm saying this, we have Aho over there right now. He's on his strong side. He tends to go over to the one-time side sometimes, but Hall's over there right now. I don't like Aho on the half wall. I don't like
him in the bumper either.
Oh, I don't either.
I don't like him
Yeah.
on the half wall. I would rather him in the bumper 10 times out of 10.
That's where he needs to
I
be.
would rather him.
I
That's where
don't.
he
Yeah.
needs.
I don't know, man. I don't love him in that bumper spot. I think he needs to be the half wall guy. I think Blake needs to be on the goal line where Svetch usually is.
No.
Because Blake can the thing with Blake that Blake can do that Svetch really can't do, Blake can kind of weasel his way through 2 or 3 guys. And we've seen it over and over and
Well,
over
it was
again.
on the Aho goal you saw.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You saw that's a prime example
Kim,
of him being just a weasel down
You know
there.
what
That's
else
what you
Blake
need.
does that Aho doesn't do on the half wall? Fucking move his feet. Aho just
Yeah, I mean,
stands
I
there
guess.
like a
Well, then
fucking
take
All right,
Aho off
all
the-
right.
all right, then
I'm
take
over
Aho
it.
off the power play.
That's what I would
Then take him
rather
off
at
the
this
power play.
point. Like, he just stands there. He doesn't do much. He stands there, stick handles, and then tries to flip a pass over to Gossespear, and then it's a one-timer into the shin pads and out. At least Blake moves. At least Blake does something. He moves around. I'm so sick and tired of just sitting here going 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, turnover down the ice. Then we can't break the puck into the zone.
I'm just wondering too. Like,
Doesn't
do you
work.
just-
It's not
do you
working.
Do you put somebody on the ice, like maybe just literally throw somebody on the ice just to be in front of the net?
Jankowski.
Like throw Jankowski
Yep.
in there and just literally say, dude, I want you parked in front of the net.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you can fish pucks out and kind of knock. Like if pucks
That's like
go
a
to the
Steph,
net, just knock
Steph
them.
Nason was like that.
Yeah,
or,
that's
Niederreiter
basically what
was
he
like
did.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a big body in front of the net.
I mean, do you do this
No.
something like that? I don't know. I mean, but again, it is what it is. Like and I think a lot of, and I don't remember who I heard that was saying this, but I think it might have been actually Bissonnette, is that he was basically saying that he likes the Canes' chances of going deep in the playoffs because, again, the deeper you go into playoffs, the less and less penalties are called. So less opportunities for power play and penalty kill, which benefits the Canes because 5-on-5, the Canes can dominate anybody. So if you stay out of the box and the other team stays out of the box more, that's more 5-on-5 time. That favors the Canes for sure. So again, I mean, the power play is what it is. I don't know if it's ever going to fix itself. Honestly, I don't know.
I'll put it to you this
But
way.
we'll see.
I love Sebastian Aho more than any. He's my favorite player that we've had in Carolina for a long time. He's probably been one of my favorite players to watch. But if he's the half wall guy on either side, this power play will never reach over 20%. Never. If he's the QB type S guy on the half wall, this power play will never reach over 20%. Just won't
Almost want
happen.
Jarvis in that bumper.
I don't
You
want.
know, because
I want
Jarvis kind of was the bumper, and then Aho and Natchez were kind of throwing each other one timers basically towards the beginning of the year. So I don't know. I mean, it's I don't really know. Do you? I don't know. I don't really know what they do at
either
this
put
point. I
Aho
think
net
Rod
front
doesn't
or
know what
put
to
him
do
in the
either.
bumper. Put Aho net
Yeah, I
front or in
mean,
the bumper. One of those
yeah,
two spots where he doesn't have to move a lot. That's all you need. He doesn't need to move a lot because he doesn't want to on the power play. So if he doesn't want to move a lot, put him in a spot where he doesn't have to
yeah.
move a ton.
The best power plays we see is when him and Ghost are kind of interchanging up top. They're
Oh
just
my
kind of
goodness.
moving
It's
all the
crazy what
time. I
happens when
know.
those guys skate. It's
I
unbelievable.
know.
When the power
Yeah.
play moves around, it's unbelievable how good it looks. And we generate so many offensive chances. But then we do that for one power play in the game. And then the other four we have, i.e., last
Mhm.
night, we went 1 for 5 on the power play. The other four we
1
have,
for 4.
we
But
stand
yeah,
there, stick handle, dust it off, pass it up to Ghost. He dusts it off, pass it back to Aho. He dusts it off, he gets it down low to Blake. Blake tries to drive the
But
net, and then it ends up going
again,
back.
again, we just need to shoot more and try to
I think
create
so
those
too.
opportunities in front of the net. I
If
think
the
Keep
puck
we're
laps
waiting.
if
too.
the puck doesn't get through to the net because we get everything blocked because those guys don't move around to create shooting lanes, I don't care if we shoot the puck 100 times, it's never going to get through because they don't move.
Well, we
Well,
did this.
no,
We did that last night on the goal.
Yeah, but
The
yeah,
guess
shot
what
went through.
happened?
Hall was there.
Aho and
to
Ghost
clean it up.
interchanged, created a one-timing
yeah.
opportunity, which then Aho drove the net because he was moving and created a second shot. He was in that bumper position to create that second shot. And then Hall was net front. But because the guys moved around, we created a goal. And then you go look at the other 4 power plays. And 2 of the other ones, we created good offensive opportunities because Aho wasn't stationary. But then you go look at the rest of the games this week when we don't score on any power play opportunities. You go watch Aho. He does not move from the left side of the ice, and he does not move his feet other than in a 5-foot circle. So if he doesn't want to move his feet in a
Yeah.
5-foot circle, put him in the bumper spot.
Yeah. No, I think we're all in agreement that the power play. I will say though, it's better than it was.
Yeah.
It's not worse than it was. So
Yeah,
that's a
I mean,
good
it couldn't get
sign in
any
the
worse.
right
But yeah,
in the
I
right
agree.
Yes.
direction. So, but I agree. I think movement is key. We said it ad nauseum, and we're going to continue to say it ad nauseum. But hopefully they can figure it out because that's going to be, that's one part of the game that thankfully our penalty kill is lights out because we're not doing ourselves any favor on the power play.
Yeah,
Um,
PK's.
but having the
Yeah.
having the right people,
Mhm.
that create that movement and it's just we're just not there right now for some reason, and I don't know who the fix is. But I think
Yeah,
we're not. I don't disagree with you, Kyle. I think the movement is terrible.
it is.
We're too stationary, and then people just key on that and then just say, okay, let's attack, let's go 2-on-1 in this guy in the half wall, and we're done, and we're out the zone.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what happened. So hopefully they figure it out, and then maybe it's not as critical a component as they indicate. But I had something come up last night that I was curious about. I don't know if you guys know the answer, or if you can find out, or if we can ask the audience and see if anybody can let us know. But how many 50-50 pucks has Jackson Blake won versus lost?
Oh,
Because I'd say
yeah,
it's got to be above
it
75%.
has to be.
I was just curious that I don't know if they track that. I don't know if Brett tracks that, or if we know if we can find out if they track that information or not. But I think that would be an interesting stat to see, because the last night in the game last night, he may have lost 1 or 2, but man, that was it.
Yeah,
There wasn't many.
I don't know. Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if they track because I think that one is you can't. I don't know if
it's
you
a
can
little
actually track it other
it's a
than
little
like an eye
subjective, I
test. Like you can
guess.
track it with your
Yeah.
eyes. Like you can see, okay, he won that one. He didn't win that one. But it's hard like data wise. I
Mhm.
mean, unless you because there's no way to know like the puck's here. Well, I guess I mean you could from the position of the puck and you say like who has the puck on their stick kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, that's an eye test. That's the cameras in the
Mhm.
arena could
Mhm.
pick that up. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like I said, he's I think he's a more skilled version of Jarvis. Like he just is. He doesn't have the scoring touch, but obviously it's going to take time. That's
Yeah.
going to come. It's going to
Yeah.
happen. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year, but it's going to happen. And once he does, I could definitely see him being a 30+ goal scorer in
Yeah.
the NHL. So,
I see him if he can figure out that scoring touch, the skill set that he has as young as he is.
oh man.
I think he's like a Nikita Kucherov
And
type
he's only
player.
going to get stronger and he's only going to
Right.
get faster. He's only going to
Yeah.
get more skilled. Like
Yep.
it's only up from here. So this is if
Yep.
this is the base, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just you look at it and you're
Yeah.
just sitting here scratching your head like how did this guy fall to where he fell to in the draft? I
Yeah.
think he was was he the second round draft pick?
Mhm.
I think so,
Yes,
I
he
yeah.
think
was.
yeah.
Third
Yeah.
round.
I
Sorry,
Yeah.
mean,
third round. No, fourth round. Sorry, fourth round.
was he a
Fourth round draft
fourth?
pick.
I
He
mean,
was a
that's even
fourth round
better.
draft pick.
I mean, again, it goes to show that if you want it bad enough and you can do it for sure. And he's showing that it doesn't like he's playing on the top line, you
Mhm.
know, and he
Yeah,
probably should
it's
have been
just
there the whole year, honestly.
his stick handling, it's turbo Teravainen. I mean, he can get in and out of traffic so quickly and in such tight spots, and I don't know how the hell he does it. He
I
comes
don't
up with the
either.
puck.
But just
He just
you'll close your eyes and all of a sudden he's out of
Yeah,
there's 8 guys in a corner. You close your eyes and you
yeah.
pick your head up again, and he's off the other way with the puck, and the other 8
Yeah.
guys are looking around like, what? Wait, what just
What
happened? Where's the
what
puck? You
well,
know?
one play, just to put it in perspective, I mean, I think it was against Tampa. He goes into the corner, about 2 or 3 guys with Hedman and one other guy in the corner, and he squirts out with the puck. I'm like, I mean, guys, Victor Hedman's a Norris winning defenseman.
Hmm.
He is still an elite level defenseman, and, he made him look silly. He made him look like an average, 6'5", 6" defenseman, and,
Yeah,
that's the detail of his game that he's and I agree, his ceiling is not even close to being reached. And, he's just gonna get bigger, he's gonna get stronger, and I don't know if one of you guys mentioned earlier, but, man, we're a super young team. I didn't realize how actually young we are,
We got 2 rookies in
and
our
I
starting
I
lineup right now.
I know, and I didn't realize I thought Stankoven was 24, but he's actually only
He's
22,
young.
mhm,
and Blake is 21, and
Jarvis is
Jarvis is
23.
24.
Or he's
Is he?
24?
Oh, I thought he was 24. Maybe he's 23. But like I said, I think we said it last week, but man, it's just 5, 6 years from now, when that core really gets developed and in their late 20s, man, if they're still here,
yeah.
it's
That's a
gonna
big
be
if.
To be honest
You
with you,
hope they're
it's
all
gonna be
here.
fun to
if
watch.
if we add pieces to this core next year, could
I
be
think next year, yeah.
I think the window is just opening up for
Yep,
Carolina in all
I
reality.
do too.
I think yes, the maybe previous core wasn't the core. We also have to remember the previous core is not the core Rod built. That was more of a core that was given to
Yeah.
him from previous management and coaching staff. That was not Rod's team that he built. You think Aho
Mhm.
was a previous draft pick from Francis. Natchez was a previous draft pick from Francis. Slavin, Pesci,
Pesci, yeah.
Shea was signed post. No, Shea was signed with Rod.
He was 2019 or
Yeah,
2020 that he
but
signed, yeah.
you could just kind of go through our whole lineup, and I think Rod is now starting to finally kind of grab his core group of guys, and we're starting to see it because, yeah, the Miko trade was probably the one where it was like, okay, that one we could have easily seen that he wasn't going to fit probably cleanly, just wasn't going to, because of his style of play versus Carolina's style of play. But now all of a sudden you go add 3 guys that I want to sign all 3 of these guys in the offseason. Like I want to sign Stankoven to an extension. I want to sign Hall to an extension, and I want to sign Jankowski to an extension. I don't know if I think Jankowski has another year left on his
I think
contract.
they have a
I
contract,
think
They
he
yeah.
have
has
him
another
they have him
year.
for next year too
Yeah.
at what was it, league minimum basically?
I think it's like
So,
1.5 million or something like that. Like what?
yeah,
Like
it's really cheap.
what are we like? Man, I think we're starting to finally see that like Rod's system is a team effort system, and if you don't have the right guys in place, it's tough to win games. And I think we had.
Mhm.
I don't think Natchez was the right guy for our system. I think Aho kind of by lucky chance he's a perfect fit for our system. Don't think Natchez was a perfect fit for our system. I thought Drury was, yes. But in that exchange to try and bring in a guy like Miko to maybe see if it works, I get why we added that piece into it. And then we just add another center in Jankowski, who he's looked great down the middle as well, too. So
Yeah,
and he's bigger.
Mhm.
yeah.
He's a bigger body.
That's exactly. That's exactly my point was gonna be, Kyle, is that I love the size we've added to the
Mhm.
back end of that depth on the 4th line. We got a Robinson down there. We got big bodies on that 4th line that really create havoc.
Yep.
and create opportunity. They were honestly, I think, I don't know. I mean, the top line was great. I think every line was great,
I feel like we finally have a
top to
top
bottom.
line now, which is nice.
Top top to bottom, we were
Mhm.
excellent. And then, the good thing about the D play and the way they've been playing is that you can rotate them a little bit more and balance out the minutes and not wear out a Jacob Slavin. And let me ask you guys this. Does everybody smile when Jacob Slavin goes on the ice? Because he's just like, something good is gonna happen. Rarely do I ever see him not on the ice and not say, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
It's like,
Um,
last night was no last night was a
Mhm.
perfect another example.
Yeah.
so as of late, yes. Previously I would be semi petrified because when Jacob Slavin's leg goes over the board, so does Brent Burns. So there were definitely
Yeah,
times where I'm like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we have Slavin on the ice. But the thing is, the only reason I'm saying that, if Slavin has his guy and his guy goes to the point like a lot of teams do, I saw it in Detroit. Patty Kane was sitting at the blue line with Jacob Slavin. Then our only defenseman down low is Brent Burns. And past maybe
mhm,
this past couple of games where he started to play well, that
Yeah.
would generate goal chances, a lot of them. And so,
yeah,
yes, while now with the way Jacob Slavin's playing and the way Brent Burns is playing, yes, it brings a smile to my face because I know it's going to be a good shift.
Mhm.
Previously, there were a couple times where it wasn't that way. But
yeah.
speaking of putting a smile on my face, why don't we pass it over to one of my previous teams that I ended up playing for a little bit of time. We got to sit down and do an interview with the two coaches as they were headed off to nationals. So I'll let you kind of transition over to it because you were the one that sat down with them.
Yeah, we got the opportunity to sit down earlier this week with Brad Gaylord and CJ Stuckey, the coaching staff for the Junior Canes junior elite team. They qualified this past weekend or weekend ago, to go to nationals, and they head there in March. I think March 20th, which is this weekend coming up. So they head up to Wayne, New Jersey, for the national tournament. So this is the third year in a row. Um, yeah, so we sat down with them. So take a listen, and we'll be back in a minute. In today's local segment, we focus on junior hockey. So pleased to welcome to the show the coaching staff of the national tournament bound Carolina Junior Canes elite team, Brad Gaylord and CJ Sucky. Welcome, guys. Thanks for jumping on the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Yep, thank you.
So we'll lead right in. Man, I tell you, 3 years in a row for you guys, heading to this tournament. That's not a light. That's not something to make light of, because that's a hard thing to do these days, especially with the way the league has grown, the number of teams that are out there, the number of competitive teams that are out there. And it really surprised me a little bit is that the talent hasn't fallen off too much. So what I'd like to kind of launch into is, given this is your third year, you're heading back there. You won it 1 year or 2 years ago. You're runners up last year.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through, how do you guys as a coaching staff, get the consistency, get the players running in the same direction, especially when you have new guys added to the lineup.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a haul. Don't get me wrong. Going back to back to back, hopefully we go back to back to back to the actual final. But that's a grind, But kudos to the returning players that lead the way, for the players that come in, and the players that we have recruited here have bought in. So kudos to them as well. So they understand what it means to be a Cane. The culture we have here. But we're really to tip our hat is like our off ice training that we have here that helps us stay consistent to be able to go the long haul, is very important. So our hats got to be tipped off to Joe and his staff over at Strength Feed. We had amazing trainers with David Blue, and Travis. I'm not going to say his last name because I may screw it up, but they're both beauties. And that's a huge piece. And what we have with that is something that is special. So the combination of all that and the leadership roles of the returning players, like we've had three guys that have been there to the national final, so they know what it takes. So that's important to have to lead the way in that locker room for the younger guys, because we did go younger a little bit this year. So collectively, that's basically why it's been fairly consistent over the past 3 years.
Yeah. So CJ, you're former player.
Right.
So a little bit of the little background on you is so what what is being a former player. I mean, I've coached, I've played, I've done both. I know Brad has done the same thing, but for you coming in as sort of a younger coach, how do you how do you how do you feel your role with the players? Is it different than, obviously it's different than Brad's, but at the same time, what is your sort of, how do you push the envelope with the guys, knowing what you bring to the table?
Yeah, yeah. My role kind of when it comes to what I provide to the boys is just maybe a friend in a way, someone they can come to. I mean, throughout the course of 6, 7 months, 44 games of playoffs, like there's a lot of highs and lows, and there's a lot of ups and downs with emotions. And Brad's a pretty demanding coach, and my responsibility sometimes with these young guys, especially, is to kind of counteract their emotions and keep them, as I like to call it, riding the wave, right in between the highs and lows, and just try to be their friend. I mean, I expect a lot out of them too. I don't lose my mind as much, but yeah, I mean, like and then from the player side of things, like I played here, I know what the culture is like, and I try to bring that to the best of my ability to the coaching side to teach these kids how to be the best hockey players they can be, but also good men.
So now when you guys are heading into playoffs, I know it's a long, grindy season. It's a lot of road trips. It's a lot of hotels. It's a lot of, it's a lot of stuff. Where people don't understand, really what it takes to be a hockey player. It's a lot more than just showing up on Saturday night and playing a game, putting on a uniform. There's a lot to it. But when you guys approached like the playoffs, do you coach the game differently, or do you approach the game differently when you're preparing for a tournament like the national tournament?
No, you don't. It's a quicker tournament, mind you. It's a lot of games in a short period of time, but everyone has to do that, right? So we don't change the style, the identity that we have here in Carolina. We just take our game, which is a very fast transitional game, and we play with pace. I think, and again, I'm going to bring up strength. Like we condition our players to play that kind of a game, and they know that. So anytime we play, it's going north right away. So there's no way we're changing any type of our identity, how we play. It's just you got to grind it out in a short period of time. But other than that, it's just another game. There's not really anything we change as a team at all. The only thing that we would do is adjust to the teams that we're playing, because we haven't played some of these teams. So we've done pre-scout on every single team already. They're already posted on the wall for the players to do their pre-scout. We practice against what we've seen already. We still have more to go before we leave, but that's the only difference. Just kind of adjusting to the new teams that are coming our way, systems wise. But other than that, no, we go we play Canes hockey every single night. We hit that sheet.
And you say something that, and it kind of triggered something for me. It's kind of an off topic from the list I sent over to you. And I talked to Lincoln about this too, is when you get into a tournament like that and, you have your systems, you have your you've scouted the games, you scouted the teams you're playing. But then there comes the factor, I'll call it the X factor. It's the puck luck. It's getting a bounce here or there, getting this or that. So I asked the boys on the last week's podcast. I said, is puck luck earned or given, basically? And I mean that by, do you create your own puck luck, or is puck luck just happen by chance? And these tournaments are really, they could come down to one of those bounces that gets you to the next round or not.
Yeah, no question. And it's actually you can jump in, but I think it's both. The harder you work, you'll earn those puck lucks. Sometimes you have an off night and they come your way too. It's just the way the game goes sometimes. But the more important part of it is if you're against the puck luck, you got to make sure you control that bench, control that emotion, and understand how to balance those boys, because they're younger kids. They need it, right? So they need that guidance, they need that patience, they need that structure. And if you don't have that, you'll lose it, right? And then you're really in trouble. You're really behind the eight ball. So as coaches, I think we do a really good job of that, of controlling that emotion, especially here in Carolina under our umbrella. But yeah, if it goes your way, man, it's a fun night. Trust me. But if it's not, you just got to really manage your bench.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to piggyback off that, Brad said the word control, and I think that's a big emphasis in our staff here. In my opinion, the word puck luck is an uncontrollable factor, and it just happens in the game, and you never really know which way it's going to go. But the things that you can control, and I do feel like we do a good job of this, is the emotions on the bench, the attitudes on the bench, and the effort given on the ice and on the bench, all in all. And those are controllable factors, and I think over the course of a game, if you do stay consistent and you work how you need to work hard, have a good attitude, control your emotions. After a 60-minute game, hopefully that we're on top.
Yeah. So new guys, old guys, how does this team stack up against, say last year's squad? I mean, they made it to the finals. I think it was against, I think you lost against, what's it,
Yeah.
Cyclones? Yeah.
No,
So how did they stack? A lot of new guys, not of old guys, old faces. How does the team balance up this year against last year?
yeah, we have 6 returning players from last year and years before. There's only a few that are on the team that have had national championship experience. Um, but we also brought in 2 from Northern's team last year that wanted to come to us, and we were glad to take them because of that experience, being 20-year-olds, because it goes a long way, especially when you have a younger room that we did have this year. They have never been there before. So players of that caliber that have been there, that experience goes an awful long way in that locker room, because when you have a locker room that understands and buys in, then you have the sheet, you have the ice. And I think we've done a really good job of that with the leadership here and the experience here. Um, but the younger guys, I have to tip my hat to them too. They've really bought in. A lot of more. I went more local, which I'm really trying to express here for years to come. Believe me, or believe it or not, but it's going to change. So it's a good thing here that we have going, and with the local young kids that we brought in are really bought in, and I couldn't thank them enough. And then together as a group, they're something. So hopefully we can get to that final again and go 3 years in a row. That I don't know if that's been done before. I have to look it up, but that would be such an accomplishment for this program.
Yeah, no, like I said, I've watched the program grow for many years. I mean, it's come from not part of. There's not a lot of teams in the programs that participate in the elite level or the premier. Well, it used to be called something
Yeah.
different back then, but to see you guys being able to, and what makes it even more impressive this year, I think, is the age of your crew.
Mhm.
Bringing a young team like that to nationals, man, that's an accomplishment, because you're playing against older kids, even at the elite level, and to get kids to buy in that age group is tough. I mean, I've coached kids that are 17, 18 years old, and they don't listen sometimes. So but at the same time, it's really exciting to see you guys. So I wish you guys all the best of luck, and I'll be following it to make sure I understand where you guys are at. And feel free, if you guys want to give me a call, we can get you on quick and talk about something if you want to. If not, don't worry. I know you're focused on hockey, but we're all excited for you here on the program, and wish you guys all the best of luck. So good luck, safe trip up to New Jersey, and we'll hopefully see you on the other end with another visit to the final round, and hopefully bringing that jug home again.
Great. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you having us, and hopefully we bring it home again.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, take
Thank
care,
you much.
guys.
Yep.
All right. Well, again, thanks again to Brad and CJ for sitting down with us. It was really a cool opportunity to get into the head of them and what their preparations are and how they plan. Um, and they plan for a national tournament bid. Given it's 3 years in a row for them, and they're going in as they won the year before, and now they lost last year to the Northern Cyclones in the finals, and they're heading back there again to try to get the job done again, and head to, at least to get to the finals, but obviously to win the jug and bring it back here again. So again, thanks again to them.
Yes, and for anybody wondering why I was just fist bumping, I am recently a new employee of said Northern Cyclones, and so that is why I'm not on interviews with any of the Junior Canes people or anything like that. It's nothing against that organization. I'm just hired by a different organization inside of the same league. So Good luck to
Yep,
the Junior
yep.
Canes, but let's go Cyclones. Just I got I that's hey. But anyways,
No,
we'll
no,
yeah.
we understand for sure, but then good. I'm excited for you too.
Yep.
So we'll be watching that along the way, and we'll see if we can interject some outside the Canes opportunities for interviews.
Yep, for sure.
So, anyways, I think we'll as those that are watching, you noticed our third of our one third of our trio is gone, so he had to hop off. But we'll close out this week with our 3 stars of the week, and he did give us his before he left.
Yep.
So Kyle, I'll bounce it to you. You can go through his, and then if you have yours, have at it, and if not, just let me
Yeah,
know.
no, I got mine. So I'll go with Cam's first. Cam, he went Jackson Blake as his third star, Freddie Anderson as his second, and Pyotr Kochetkov as his first. And in all honesty, it's hard to kind of go against what he did, but I'm gonna make a couple tweaks to it just because I don't want to have the exact same guys as him. So I'm gonna take out Freddie and I'm gonna take out Jackson. And the only reason I'm doing so is I feel like two other guys also deserve some credit this week. So Kochetkov, also my first star. He has been absolutely sensational since kind of that first win, and really since really February. I think he's made a really big stride and turned a corner. Knock on wood, he hasn't had the same kind of lapses of making a soft goal allowed, and I think that that's really helped him out just mentally and confidence wise. So, man, when he's confident, he is one of them goalies that talk about stealing some games. He can steal you some games. Look at that Boston game. He stole us that game. 100%. So Kochetkov, my first star. I'm gonna go back to my third. My third is going to be Mr. Scott Morrow. Coming in to the NHL and putting up 3 points in 5 game stretch since coming back and getting called up, including your first goal. Um, that's not easy to do. You know, not a lot of defensemen can do that, and I think he's fit really well. I think he is easily an NHL defenseman. I think you put him on maybe 26 other rosters. There's a couple rosters that have really good decors, but you put him on about 26 or 27 other rosters, and he's inside a top 6, if not a top 4 role for a lot of those teams. Um, so Carolina's got a good one in him coming forward, and I'm excited. And then my second star of the week is going to be Mr. Mark Jankowski. 100% shooting record so far for Carolina Hurricanes with him in the uniform. But talk about injection of what Carolina needed. That couldn't have been a better fit. We needed size, we needed physicality, we needed some goal scoring touch, but we really needed another William Carrier. We needed another version of him, and I think we got one. I think we got a little bit maybe of a better goal scoring touch to one. Because let me tell you, Mark Jankowski's got one of the best shots I've seen. I mean, that one last night, that was an absolute bomb. And
Hmm.
he just rolled his wrist. And then you go back to the Hellebuck one. All he did was roll his wrist on that first shot. It goes top shelf and it is off his stick so fast. It's unbelievable. So
Yep.
those are my 3 stars for the week. So
All right. So I'll jump in. I'll go bottom to top on this one. I mean I got two guys on my number three spot that I can't pick one over the
oh, sorry.
other. I guess I'll do.
I'm gonna give
Go
one
ahead.
honorable mention after you're done. Sorry.
All right, good deal. So I'll say my number 3 stars for the week are going to be Jackson Blake and Taylor Hall. I can't argue one over the other. Um, they both have played such incredible games night in and night out. Speed game, creativity, creating opportunities for others. They haven't really gotten a ton on the scores. I think Taylor Hall did score against. I don't know if it was, no, it wasn't Tampa. It was Detroit. He got a tip in front. Honorable mention for me was going to be Kokniemi. I think he's had a great week, and but I think these two guys deserve the 3rd star for me. And my 2nd star, I agree with you, Kyle, is Jankowski. He has brought so much dynamic to that bottom 6, that his size, his physicality, his skill, his everything about his game is a Carolina Hurricane. And I think that's the biggest part of why this ad is going to be so good if we go deep and do a playoff run is he plays the way a Carolina Hurricane should play. So really, really good pickup, I think, for Tulski on that one. And then PK, Kochetkov by far is number one. I didn't give it to Freddie. I think on the goals that he did let up, he had a good save percentage. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but some of the goals he let up, it's like okay, that's a Freddie goal, and then okay, but he makes good saves to back that up. So the DeBrincat goal, yeah, it's a good shot. Don't get me wrong, but he almost got a second one, but thankfully it went off the
Mhm.
post and didn't make its way in, but it was the same area. So Freddie struggled a little bit on that side, and I think he numbers were good, but he still, he let in a squeaker where Kochetkov was just absolutely lights out. That save last night on Konechny in tight, I think it was Konechny, but in
Off
tight,
the
he
toe.
off the
My
toe.
God.
I'm like, come on. That's the guy that if we're gonna make a decision based on how a guy's been playing to be the number one, he's been playing like he deserves that nod. And so PK number one, Jankowski two, and then Blake and Hall with an honorable mention to KK for this week's three
Yeah, my
stars.
my honorable mention was also gonna be KK because you wanna talk about having and yes, maybe the points haven't been the same that I mean, he is having a career year in points right now. So, yes, the points kind of have been there as well too, but I mean, talk about when you need your second line center to step up. We didn't have much going in that Detroit game to start. The only guy consistently going that whole game
Yep.
was Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and I think one thing that has really just brought such an impact to his game is he is really starting to learn how to play with his body. And that sounds a
Hmm.
bit funky, but I mean, like he knows how to move in a way to where he can protect the puck, and he's getting way better at it. And he's getting better at this is a really hard skill to learn, and I didn't learn this until after I kind of finished up playing hockey. You have to learn how to play with the puck without touching the puck. So
Hmm.
you put it into a direction, and then you take your stick off the puck because defensemen always want to slap your blade of your stick. It took me a long time to realize that that's what they're going for. One. All right, some slight technical difficulties. We got that all sorted. Kind of final point though. KK he's playing without the puck because the defenseman really wants to try and play stick on stick, stick on puck. But when you see Aho do this a lot too, when you're kind of rushing up with speed and you're placing a puck into an area, if you're kind of reaching or touching the puck and the defenseman hits your stick, you're gonna knock the puck away. But when you can kind of play without touching the puck, it allows you to utilize your body and it makes it so much harder to defend that because now the defenseman, instead of just hitting your stick, he has to reach all the way around you to grab that puck. It makes the job so much harder on the defenseman. I think KK has started doing that immensely well. I think we saw that out of Svechnikov in that New York series last year. I don't think we've seen that out of Svech this year. And I think if we got that out of Svech the same way we're getting it out of KK, just the possession and just the will and like just he's literally willing his way into being a good second line center. And if
Yep.
we got that same effort out of Svech, we would have no problems with goal scoring, with having a superstar, because Andrei Svechnikov would be one of the best forwards in the NHL. But he just hasn't
Yeah.
learned that aspect of his game.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think the other thing with KK too, is that, and I think they said it last night, and I really, really a great thing to hear is that he's really one of the keys to his game that he's really tried to focus on is his focus on when he's going in for a faceoff.
Mhm.
Is the absolute focus on what he needs to do, how he needs to do it, because he'd go in there a little bit more haphazardly before. He said, "But that's part of my game that I have to win faceoffs. And how do I do it? And what do I do? And when I do win a faceoff, and what do I do when I lose a faceoff? And but being focused on winning the faceoff is what he's really focused on now. I use focus about 10 times there, but I think focus is the key.
Yes.
So for him, but anyways, yeah, I agree with you. Honorable mention for him. But you know, Canes out on a road trip. They come back home. I think they came home last night.
Yeah,
Practice a couple of days.
they'll leave
Um,
Tuesday probably, so they're home for today, tomorrow, and then they'll leave midday Tuesday after a skate probably Tuesday morning, I would presume.
yeah. So they head out west for their California dreaming vacation here. They'll hopefully it's not a hopefully it's a three more wins coming out of the West Coast. So they hit San Jose on Thursday, and then LA on Saturday, and Anaheim on Sunday, and then back home on Tuesday against Nashville. Um, so you know, kids on a good stretch. So we hope wish them well out west, and you know we'll be watching. So we'll bring you some notes and highlights of that game, those games next week. But we'll wrap for there. We'll wrap it up there, and we do appreciate everybody that's hung with us. You know, we had a little bit of a technical issue at the end here, but hey, that's part of the game. So we'll battle through. You know, we make a mistake, go on to the next shift, and park that one.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so follow us, share, do whatever you need to help us get the word out, and we do appreciate it. So until next week, for Kyle and an absent uh, staff to our trio, Cameron, we'll talk to you next week. Take care.